Hello and welcome to another edition of the Steelers Depot live stream. I am Alex Kozora. Joining me as always is Dave Bryan here until 8 p.m. Eastern Time the next hour, answering as many of your Steelers questions as possible as the Pittsburgh Steelers are coming off a big win, their best win of the season, 27-20 over the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday. Pittsburgh 5-3 on the season, and the trade deadline is in less than 24 hours, 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday. So, Dave, how you doing?
All right, happy Monday night. And let's see, I think we're about, what are we, about an hour away from Monday Night Football starting. So interested to sit back and watch this one between Dallas and the Cardinals tonight.
All right, you guys know the drill. We'll be here to answer your questions. If you guys could like the stream, subscribe to the channel, and check out the site, SteelersDepot.com. The one you see on screen, would really appreciate that. If you want a guarantee of your question being asked and answered by Dave and myself, you can send us a super chat and move to the front of the line. No obligation, of course, to do so. We appreciate it all the same. So, Dave, already a ton of questions, a bunch of people here in the chat, so appreciate you guys being here with us to kick tonight off. We'll start with John Pennington, who says, "Hello, Dave and Alex. Explain to me why they cut Beanie and kept Slay, who's the biggest liability in the secondary, and brought up two running backs in yesterday's game, and neither one had a carry." I'll tackle the latter half there on the elevations of Trey Sermon and Lou Nichols. They were elevated for their special teams value. Pittsburgh hurting there, with Jabril Peppers being out, no Chuck Clark, no Cole Holcomb guys that played. Core or regular special team snaps were absent, and so Sermon and Nichols have that background, and that's why Pittsburgh had the rare moment of 5 running backs being active yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, not shocking at all that neither one of those two got any offensive snaps there. And the other question was what?
Why they cut Beanie and not Darius Slay.
Yeah, I know that's probably going to upset a lot of people. You know, you got a guy that last year 4 interceptions for Beanie, I think was
Yep,
it last season there. You know, is it his grasp of the offense? I mean, the defense overall. Is it you know, they just didn't feel he was had much of a future there. Look, I mean, you just don't. Did he oversleep and miss some meetings? You just don't really know the truth to all this. But I would just venture to say, look, he's been on the practice squad all season here. You know, never. You know, even through some of these injuries and all, haven't made it to the elevation. They probably did not think as high of him as most of the fan base probably did. And it was a little bit out of left field. I kind of thought if you're going to be adding a guy like Valdez Scantling, maybe one of those practice squad wide receivers would go. But it's hard to know for sure exactly why. But it's quite obviously that he was the one most vulnerable, on the practice squad, and they probably didn't think as highly as of him as maybe they did last year. And once again, it could be for several reasons. Was he just not grasping things they wanted to on defense? He's obviously not considered an outside guy, more of a slot guy, and yeah. And look, I know people are saying, what is he going to land somewhere else? Well, he probably could, but when he was on the practice squad, teams could have very easily poached him, and sign him to their 53-man roster. Obviously, he would have had to stay on a 53-man roster of another team for at least 3 games. Had something like that happen, he'll probably land somewhere else on another team's practice squad before the season's over.
Yeah, I think so. He's been backsliding since Cam Sutton came off suspension just about 1 year ago today. Now, it's probably a mistake to give Sutton all those snaps and relegate Bishop to limited dime time and often on the bench, but didn't have a great camp, and you had Ramsey, you had Echols, and Slay, or Bishop lost a spot, got hurt for that preseason finale, and that's just the way this thing goes sometimes. So we'll see. We'll never probably know the true reason why. I was mildly surprised by it, but these things happen.
Yeah, look, this is a guy that a lot of people thought was surprised went undrafted in general, and even after he went undrafted, a lot of people wondering how were this being that the Steelers don't pay an exorbitant amount of signing bonuses to their undrafted free agents. How he was still available for the Steelers to get him as an undrafted free agent. So maybe there's more there that we don't know about as far as maybe his film study or how he grasps some things.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously you're speculating, and I get that, but he came to Pittsburgh on a visit. There was a clear opportunity for a role. He was basically handed the role because there were a few options to begin last year with some of the injuries to Graylin Arnold, and they released Josiah Scott, and Sutton was suspended. So a lot of stuff plays into this thing behind the scenes. So got a very generous $5 super chat from Uncle BB94, who says, with how the last 3 weeks have gone, give your current prediction for the rest of the season, keeping in mind, Alex, that your predictions never come true, which is a harsh but fair criticism. I am so bad at picking Steelers games this year, but I'll pick against them going forward because it seems to be working pretty well. So they will lose every game the rest of the season, Dave. That's how my reverse jinx will go. I don't get caught up in in-season predictions. I said before the year I predicted 10-7. I will stand by that.
That's where I'm at, or that's where I was at. I will tell you this. I was thinking about this earlier today. And this pretty much holds true to the last several years when it comes to Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers are like a box of chocolates, right? You almost never know what you're going to get from game to game.
But the end result. They're going to be 9-8, 10-7.
Right, how many what the count of the box of chocolates is going to be.
Right.
Going to be.
Exactly.
But you don't know necessarily when you bite into a certain chocolate what's going to be in the middle of that one. That's what it kind of feels like overall. I mean, look, this is a team that played. I thought they would lose this past week. I thought they would make it close. I thought they would cover the spread. I thought it would be I thought the game would go entirely different. I thought it would be the Steelers defense, not having as sound a game, and the Steelers offense putting up some points on the board. Well, it ended up being kind of, the opposite of that. It ended up being obviously the Steelers defense played quite well with the 6 takeaways, in total. Obviously, 1 on special teams, and the 5 sacks, and then the Steelers offense really only producing when off of takeaways, if we're being honest, because if you look in entirety, I think it's okay to admit that the Steelers offense really didn't hold up their end of the bargain overall, even though they did, like I said, put up 24 points this past week. It could have been a lot better overall. This was an offense that only that did not register an explosive play on offense this week. And I wonder how many times that's happened, Alex, that a team wins without registering an explosive play. I don't think it's as rare as maybe we think, but I bet it is something that doesn't happen with regularity. And this is also an offense now at this point, I think, has 22 explosive plays for the season, and only 2 teams, the Saints and the Browns, have fewer explosive plays there. So they definitely, someone responded back to that tweet today saying that that's a stat that doesn't mean all that much. Well, explosive plays matter in the NFL almost as important as takeaways, because how many times have we referred to the TOX stat before of the turnovers and explosive play differential and the +2 or the -2 that goes along with that. So don't fool yourself and think that explosive plays don't matter, because they do. It's just the Steelers have found ways. I think in a couple of games this year, they've had in 3 games, I think in totality, you got to check my math on this, they've had 1 or fewer explosive plays. I think the Vikings game, the Patriots game, and then now this one against the Colts, and they won all 3 of those games. So you play with fire enough times, you are eventually going to get burned there. Now I sent us way down the
You
rabbit
did.
hole of predictions here, but it's a long way of saying you don't know what you're going to get to week on, when it comes to this Steelers team, and it was good to see at the very least this team have a good defensive performance coming off of the one that they had against the Packers.
And that week-to-week uncertainty is certainly true of more teams than just Pittsburgh. Just go watch the NFL any given week, and you're going to see some weird stuff. The Falcons, I think, are having one of the weirdest seasons of quality wins and terrible losses. They beat the Bills. They got shut out by Carolina. They try to come back against the Patriots and miss a game-tying extra point. That kind of weird stuff. The Packers lose to the Panthers. The Lions lose to the Vikings. Divisional play especially is weird, and the NFL is in itself, I think, unpredictable. But I'm sticking 10-7. You're sticking 10-7 to answer the question.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. Let's see.
You still got some tough games left on this thing, man.
Sure.
You got You got Buffalo. You got Detroit. You obviously got 2 games with the Ravens. You got one more with the Bengals, one more with the Browns. You got a Bear. Who are the Bears this year? I mean, this is a team
Sure.
that has played a couple of good games this year. You obviously got the Chargers coming up, and yeah, they're missing both their tackles now at this point, but they're still able to put some points up on the board. So there's definitely some tough games left to be played for the Steelers this year.
Just a reminder to like the stream. Appreciate that. Subscribe to the channel. Got a video on Cam Hayward dropping in the morning. Question from Johan Hernandez, who says, "Hi, Alex and Dave. The development of Peyton Wilson is so exciting to watch. He gets better every week. Feels like he's a future All-Pro. Hopefully so. I think he's going in the right direction. There's been some ups and downs this season. His run defense still has some work to do. I think in coverage he can still better himself, but obviously was very good yesterday with the interception and the deflection that turned into Jack Sawyer's interception. So he's a high-effort guy. He's a really hard worker. Was named special teams captain in place of Miles Killebrew, which is no small thing for a second-year guy to become a captain of that unit midseason, when that could have certainly gone to Ben Skoranek or Connor Hayward or James Pierre, and that was Killebrew that apparently suggested that to Tomlin and said, give it to Peyton Wilson. That probably speaks a lot about Wilson's approach and work ethic. So hopefully onwards and upwards for Peyton Wilson.
With all those tackles yesterday and included his play on special teams, do you remember one of the traits of his during the pre-draft process that I talked about when it came to Peyton Wilson, and that was really evident on tape yesterday against the Colts?
Think his effort?
No, we all knew his effort, and he had the speed and all like that. But there was one specific trait that I said, man, I wish he wouldn't do this.
Oh, wouldn't do this?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. You tell me.
He tackles so high up.
Because he's so tall. He's 6'4".
Yeah.
And usually these linebackers are all 6 foot these days.
Yeah, he really tackles high, around, above the midsection. Really, go look at some of those tackles in the game yesterday. That's one of the things that really stood out to me. Look, I mean, obviously there could be worse things to complain about, right? But it's just one of those things when I was watching, because he was in on a lot of plays and special teams as well too. I couldn't help but thinking, man, he really does tackle high.
Yeah, I get that, but hopefully that'll come with some time, and I think he is at a disadvantage in a sense for being an unusually tall player for the position. Got another super chat from Uncle BB94, $2. He says, pick one mid-tier trade needed, offensive line, receiver, or DB. I take offensive line, especially we're talking mid-tier, so not asking for some pie-in-the-sky type of wide receiver. Give me offensive line depth. It's hard to find. I don't know who would be. I'm still calling the Cardinals about Kelvin Beachum, especially if the Cardinals lose tonight to Dallas. I would try to get Beachum back home where he began his career. Give me depth. Say Malu's injured. Don't know his status going forward. Give me all the offensive line help I can get.
Boy, you could use a nice, experienced guy, a guy that hung around the league as a 7th rounder as long as he did. I can still remember back to the preseason when it came to Kelvin Beachum and one of his because he played some guard early on as well, and I thought, oh man, this guy.
Didn't he false start on his first ever snap? something like that?
I don't remember that, but I remember it was a rough going for him at first, and I think specifically when he got some guard time during the preseason, I thought to myself, oh man, this guy ain't even going to make the roster. Is this guy even going to be able to make it through his rookie season? And here we are, all these years later, and he's always had that unique build of him as well too, because he is a little bit of a shorter guy, but he's got that longer torso on him and had the longer arms as well too, and he really has become quite a student and technician overall. And you don't hang around the league as long as he has if you don't have some level of talent there. I guess what I'm getting at is how good with and his great locker room guy, great in the community and all like that. It would be great to have him around those younger Falatano and Broderick Jones there. So I would not disagree with that as well. Give me an experienced offensive lineman that can come in and provide some depth and leadership for this group.
Chat, Dave and I talked about it earlier today. Will Pittsburgh trade for a receiver by Tuesday's deadline? Let us know in the chat. Not if you want them to, but your prediction. Yes, no. Will Omar Khan make that move? Plenty of speculation connecting Pittsburgh to receivers. I think the Raiders' Jacoby Myers might be the most likely name, but others to consider. Calvin Ridley in Tennessee. Jalen Waddle is high end. I very much doubt that, but you could mention him. Alan Lazard. The Saints receivers, Olave, Shaheed, Brandon Cooks. So, chat, let us know your thoughts. Will there be
Deebo Samuel?
Deebo Samuel, you mentioned. Yeah, I mean, it's not a... Schefter was asked about that today, about the Commanders in general selling, and he said, yeah, that seems like a possibility.
Yeah, look, I'm not... anytime you throw out names, people think, "Oh man, why do you want him?" I'm not saying I want him. I'm just saying that A, it makes a lot of sense for the Commanders to move him, and B, the Steelers did have reportedly some level of interest in him. And no, he's not now assuming this would Valdez-Scantling indeed goes through, and you got a guy that can potentially, take the top off coverages and really kind of be, a guy maybe you can turn to, God forbid you lose DK Metcalf for any amount of snaps or something like that. If you considering that this team likes his short, quick passing game and relies on a lot of yak, I mean, could you manufacture, 4, 5, 6 touches a game for a guy like Deebo Samuel, and hopefully take advantage of some of his yak if you went out and got him? And I think the answer is yes. Once again, I'm not advocating for it. I think the trade price for him would be really cheap at this point. Probably trade a 6 for a fifth for a 6 or so, one of those late pick swaps plus the player. There's not a lot left on his contract for this year, so it's not going to kill you. And then obviously, if he was to have any kind of production the second half of the season and end up signing with free agents, with another team in free agency for anything over the minimum, maybe he helps you with some sort of compensatory draft pick value. So it's just a guy that I think is at least plausible to consider for the Steelers, considering they've had past interest in him, right, and a guy that could offer you some yards after the catch.
All right, we'll find out soon enough. Mike Adesso says, okay, Alex, is the curse of the 3-game losing streak over, or will they still keep it alive later this year? If so, call your shot. What 3 games are they losing in a row this year? Yeah, Pittsburgh avoided that 3-game losing streak by beating the Colts Sunday. Pittsburgh has had at least one 3-game losing streak in each of the last 7 seasons. So it's been a long, dubious streak. I forget, I wrote about it in that article, writing that they could have that losing streak after the Packers game. There's, I think, the Baltimore, Detroit, Buffalo, maybe you think 3 games in a row late in the season. I forget exactly what the schedule looks like, but somewhere around in there.
Detroit comes after Miami, so okay. It would either... I mean, could they lose the next 3, Alex? Chargers, Bengals, Bears.
Yeah, I think there's no easy quote unquote gimme games, even though I hate that term in the first place. But yeah, it's possible. There's certainly going to be tough games the rest of the way. But if you're looking at one section, is it go Buffalo, Detroit? Are those 2 games back to back?
No. It goes Buffalo, Baltimore, Miami, and then Detroit.
Okay. I mean, Miami certainly will be the favorites in that one. That is at home, I believe. That's a night game. But that's kind of something I've been kicking around, some sort of late season skid, but you never know.
You don't want to get in a situation where you'd lost those two and then have to play a Dolphins team, right?
Sure, absolutely. All right, next question, just from Mike as well. Slay is fine in more zone coverage, still light years better than Beanie, but why do we need to glorify practice squad guys? I mean, I think people like Beanie. He seemed like an affable guy, had the interceptions last year. It was kind of fun to root for him, the underdog story, but yeah, probably a little too much made out of the Bishop release.
Yeah.
Andy Sertz, Alex better, blitz plan, more balanced, outside linebacker snap count, more 3 outside linebackers on the field, and perceived simpler game plan overall. What do you think they will continue to do defensively? Generally all those things. Some of it's game script dependent, like the Browns game when you're playing with the lead throughout. You can use those 3 outside linebacker packages more. You can be more inventive and creative. Couldn't do that as much against Green Bay or against Cincinnati. So there's a game flow that depends kind of how your game plan unfolds and reveals itself. But yeah, I think all those things are welcome going forward.
Who are even going to be the tackles for the Chargers now? Because Bobby, what's his last name?
It's Bobby Hart's still in the league. I think it's going to be Hart. I know he got hurt, but I think Hart and Pipkins are the next men up.
Yeah, but Hart came out of that. Hart only played like 10 or 11 snaps, I think, in this game yesterday for the Chargers. Right. And then they had didn't they have one of the guards at left tackle for them?
Pipkins, I think, has played both. He's been with him for a while. I think Pat Meyer actually coached Trey Pipkins, but I don't know. What is Hart's severity of that injury, though?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't looked that far there. TJ Watt, but TJ Watt's got a nice history with Bobby Hart, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Time with the Bengals.
I want Bobby Hart healthy for this game.
Yeah, you want Bobby Hart healthy and at right tackle because TJ Watt has worn him like a hat before.
But we also know the Chargers are going to give so much help and so much protection to those tackles. I mean, the one downside to not facing those guys, even though Slater's been out for a while and not seeing Joe Alt, is that the Chargers are going to do everything. Their game plan starts with how do we give these guys help. And Pittsburgh has sometimes underwhelmed in those quote-unquote tasty matchups to look on paper like Pittsburgh should dominate. So, it's still a big boost. Joe Alt's a great player. I'd rather not see him than see him, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And Noah Marion Hampton, too. I think Harbaugh said they're not going to open up his designate him to return that would give him a chance to play in this game. So he will miss. And of course, Najee Harris has been out for quite some time with that torn Achilles.
Right.
Who's left of the former Steelers? Dante Jackson, I think, is the only man standing still, right? In terms of playing with the Chargers. Because Mike Williams signed there, he retired. Harris is out. I don't think anybody else went there this offseason, so I think it's just Dante Jackson.
Right.
All right, next question comes from Wesley Meyer, who says on the podcast today, why is it considered a 2-5 defense instead of the traditional 4-3 defense? I called it 2-5 because you had 2 down linemen, 2 defensive linemen, and 5 linebackers. So this was a wrinkle package that's not your 4-3 or anything like that. You had your 2 edge guys, and you had 3 inside linebackers on the field in Patrick Queen, Peyton Wilson, and Malik Harrison. So I always call it from a defensive lineman, like true down lineman standpoint, your Haywards, your Bentons, your Harmons of the world, and then the linebackers, and I still consider Watt, Highsmith, Herbig linebackers.
All right, how many times you got it where you can sort that? How many times they use that?
I can't do that without showing it all on stream. It was like 8 or so times. The results honestly weren't great. There was a 36-yarder to Pierce, but I think the principle of it was good to try to stop the run. So the numbers may not tell the whole story, that I think it was a decently effective package.
All right.
Next question comes from IV Jack IV. He says, hey, Dave and Alex, was wondering your thoughts on bringing back Casey after his release might bring something to a shorthanded team and potentially add more value than Clark and Thornhill. Demonte Casey and the Browns parted ways apparently mutually today. Dave, any interest in bringing Demonte Casey back?
Only if he's interested in signing to the practice squad.
I have no interest in bringing Demonte Casey back. I don't need another 31-year-old something safety in this room. He was clearly on his last leg last year, only played in dime packages, which they're not running this year, doesn't play on special teams. Clark had the illness. He should be good for this weekend. I don't know the degree of Pepper's quad injury, but hopefully will not miss too much time. I just don't see the point in bringing Casey back at all.
All right.
But I know
the only way I'd even consider it is if it was practice squad.
He's also just not here. He's out. He wants out of Cleveland because he wasn't playing, and if he signs in Pittsburgh, he's not playing. So I don't know even why he would want to come back to Pittsburgh. So I just don't get practice squad. Okay, fine, whatever. But even then, I wouldn't be advocating for it. So I just don't see the point in bringing back DeMonte Casey.
Right. And look, I'm not going to go out and throw a parade or go buy any billboards to get it done.
Sure.
But
MJ Irish, would yesterday's defense have worked against the Bengals? Well, we'll find out in 2 weeks when they play the rematch, I guess. I think more cover 2, taking away the deep ball, giving the cornerback some help is a sound strategy.
What does Zach Taylor say about Flacco today?
I don't know what he said. He said he was kind of like critiquing Chase Brown for calling out the defense, but this defense for the Bengals, I think, is worthy of being called out.
He says something to the line. I'm sure he can't even pick up his arm today.
How many attempts did he have yesterday?
Well, not only that, he was
the shoulder injury,
banged up and all like that. And how many attempts did he have in that game?
A ton.
And he tried to chase down one of the Edmonds on that pick 6. He ran all the way down the field for that one to be called back down after contact. There, you got to take your hat off and hand it to him. 47 attempts for him in that game against the Bears. So, and they'll be coming off of a bye. The Bengals.
Oh,
will
yeah,
be.
I didn't realize that. So they'll be fresh coming to Pittsburgh, though, at least, and you'll take that. But yeah, we'll find out. Hopefully, a better plan the second time around in Week 11. MJ Irish also. Oh no, that was you saying Happy Monday. Oh, there's MJ Irish said Happy Victory Monday. I'm getting my Happy Mondays mixed up. So yeah, Happy Victory Monday. Pittsburgh had their actual first true Victory Monday for the players, where they actually had the day off. They've won games in the past that did not actually have the Monday after off. So good win, great, best game, best win of the season by far. Right, Dave, from yesterday.
Obviously there was more to be desired on offense, but. Yeah, I mean, specifically defense, man. What a game with the sacks and the takeaways, and
was there a better win from a complete team standpoint? Would you put the Patriots, the Browns game, would any of those pass up the Colts game?
Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, even though the offense certainly had its struggles, 27 points is still 27 points, aided by all the takeaways, but. The Patriots game certainly had its issues defensively. Still, despite the takeaways, the defense was not as strong in that game. The Browns game, the offense still wasn't great in that game. So I'll take the Colts game, beating 7-1 Colts team, firing on all cylinders. It's a big, big win. Mark Cunningham, sup fellas? This head coach. Did Roman Wilson ruin all his hard work and trust built up this year in one play late in the fourth quarter? Will he even get a helmet next week? We'll see what happens at the deadline. We'll see if they add a receiver. If they do, then it's going to be hard for Wilson to have any sort of role going forward. He may dress, but will probably barely play. It was a bad mistake, no question. I'd like to think this team can offer a little bit of grace. Wilson, I think, has been ascending overall, so we'll find out.
Here's the thing, for even all that happened to Caleb from that, he is yet to be inactive,
Right. I think Wilson will dress.
He's had some games with 0 snaps, so I think Wilson will dress, but look, we'll have to see if Scotty Miller's ready to come back from that finger injury and what the rest of the injury list and all looks like. But obviously, if you trade for another wide receiver with any work to him, he's going to eat into somebody's snaps, and most likely Roman Wilson's.
Dave, we have a trade, not Steelers related, but AFC North related. According to Ian Rappaport, the Ravens are trading for Titans edge rusher Draymond Jones. And so the Ravens have been searching for pass rush help. I think they were in on the Jalen Phillips deal until he went to Philadelphia to reunite with Vic Fangio, the DC. There was a pretty high price tag too. What are the Ravens giving up? A conditional 5th rounder that may become a 4th rounder for Draymond Jones. So Ravens getting pass rusher. They just traded away Oweh, and now they're getting pass rusher back.
And didn't they recently add Carl Lawson or something to the practice squad or something?
They did, yeah. They signed him, but I think Jones will come in and have a more immediate role for this team.
Okay.
So there you go. And it's a pretty high price tag, though. A 3rd for Phillips felt high. This feels a little high, too. I don't know. If I'm Omar Khan, I'm being very careful because it feels like it's a seller's market with some pretty high returns.
All right.
Although Duggar was dirt cheap, so there was that as well. All right, where else are we at here? Half hour to go. Be sure to like the stream, subscribe to the channel, check out the site, SteelersDepot.com. Would really appreciate.
Where'd you see the Draymond at?
Ian Rappaport just tweeted it.
Ian, okay.
Yeah, I'm sure others are probably doing the same, but Rappaport was the one that came across my phone.
Okay.
David Kapoor says what happened in the muff punt recovery wasn't clear why it wasn't a touchdown. That is the NFL rule. I think Pat McAfee explained it well today. I think the rule is if you recover, if you field it as the returner and say take a step with it or just basically grasp the football and then you fumble, it can be run back for a touchdown. But because it was muffed, because there was no possession and ergo there was no change of possession, truly you cannot advance it. So it was ruled correctly. You can't advance a muffed punt.
Yep.
But good question there. I know there's been a lot of confusion about that. We got Ali Howard. We got F War 83. David OG Smith T is in here. Smike T, excuse me. Mauro Campo says, happy victory Monday, Dave and Alex. What are your predictions for the Steelers record now that the second half of the season is underway? I remember Dave saying 11-6 before week 1. Were you were 10-7? Not 11-6, or were you 11-6?
No, I think I had him at 10 and someone may ask me coming out of the first couple of games if I was going to increase it by a game or so, theoretically. And I think I said, 11-6. But I mean, as I state all the time, there's ebbs and flows of this thing. So, I still think they're going to finish right around either 10-7 or 11-6.
10-7 win the division.
It might, yeah.
You had to guess, though. Will it? It certainly could.
I think it will.
It depends what happens in those Ravens games. But I think the Ravens to go 10-7, to lose only 2 more games. Pittsburgh can at least split the season series. I think 10-7 and you split the series with Baltimore, get you the AFC North crown. Justin Watson, I wanted to keep the 3 edge guys in a more balanced rotation for when the back end could prevent a 2.5 second time to throw, and I had Steelers beat writers pushing back on that point. I'm a little confused by what you're saying here, Justin. If you can clarify if you're still here. He wanted to keep 3 edge guys in a more balanced rotation for when the back end could prevent a 2.5 seconds. So he wanted a healthier rotation between Herbig, Watt, and Highsmith. I think those guys rotated pretty good yesterday.
Yeah, they did. And you even saw Sawyer in there, had a fairly healthy amount of snaps, didn't he?
Yeah, I think it was 20-something snaps you had said. He played in that 3X linebacker package. Obviously, Pittsburgh could really lean on that late in this game and did, which was good to get the D-line some rest too. But, I thought the rotation was actually pretty good. Obviously, again, playing with that lead makes those problems a lot easier to solve.
TJ played 61 snaps. Highsmith played 48. Herbig played 40. Sawyer played 20.
Ronald Hall, will the Steelers be willing to trade a quarterback? Not sure why this isn't being talked about with some of the injuries this weekend. Trade Rudolph, activate Howard. I would not do that, Ronald. I would not put Will Howard, who's not even fully back. I know he could be activated, as you say, but a rookie 1 snap away with where this team is at. You have Rudolph as your backup, your veteran, ready to step in. Been there, done that before. I like Will Howard too, but I'm not moving Rudolph.
If they were to trade any quarterback, it would be Skylar Thompson for like a 7th round pick and a bag of footballs or something.
Can you do that with him still on IR?
I think you'd probably have to activate him.
Okay, but he's still on IR. If you activate him, you'd have to activate him, then put him on the 53 all by tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know if we've ever seen a player.
Was the Saints receiver they traded for from Denver, Vaughn? Wasn't he hurt? Was he on IR though?
That's a good question.
And I think there was something about that where that kid was injured and they still traded for him and actually gave up a decent amount. I think like a 5th rounder or a 4th rounder for, what's his name? Devontae Vaughn or Dede Vaughn? I forget his name. But check that situation. I don't know what the rule is about trading players, but even with Thompson, it's like, you got other veteran quarterbacks who've been playing. You can probably go trade for somewhere.
What was that kid's name?
Chat might know. The same is from Denver to New Orleans. It happened right around the start of the season. His last name was Vaughn. He was a 2nd-year kid, like 26 years old. Was an old kid. I think out of Utah. Maybe went on a mission or something. I don't know.
Oh, Devon Vele.
Ah, there it is. Okay, we got it. Was he injured? I know we're going down a rabbit hole here.
Valet who missed in the off-season program. I don't remember if he was on IR. What I'm reading here on the ESPN story doesn't say whether or not he was still on IR or not.
All right. Well, I'm not sure on the rules of IR, but I certainly Rudolph is not going to be traded. You're not going to do that as a team in this position. Let's see, what else do we have here? And if you get an answer on that, Davey, then feel free to hit me. William Palmer, did Danny Smith discover something with Boswell punting the ball out of bounds? I wouldn't. Christopher Columbus, Danny Smith. Maybe you would, because Columbus didn't actually found America, and Danny Smith didn't found this kickoff rule. The Colts did it earlier this year. The Texans did it last year. It's only when the ball's at the 50 on the personal foul, so it's a pretty rare moment where that is going to happen. But it was a great play, smart strategy. So kudos to Danny Smith.
Okay. Yeah, most definitely. We talked about that on the podcast today. It's just one of those loopholes in the rules, and Danny Smith knows those special teams or knows the rule book inside and out, so good on him.
It was funny to see the offense and defense, I think, both pretty confused about what was happening. It was kind of like you could kind of see they were upset or a little unsure why Boswell was kicked that ball so bad. And I think Boswell was having to explain to people, no, we're good, 25-yard line. You guys should be happy about this. So cool.
Yeah, they probably thought the old man lost his mind for a moment.
Right? They're like, what the heck? Now ball's at the 40? What? They've probably been upset about that. Luis Cervantes says, who is the Steelers MVP so far this season? I know it's so cliche, but it's got to be Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
I mean, how is it not?
Yeah. I mean, he's, from the sheer fact, his red zone play alone.
Yeah, he's got really more touchdowns this season than any Steelers quarterback has had in the season post-Ben.
Yeah.
And we're just finished week 9, played 8 games. So how is it not? All that he's brought, he's been a great teammate, great professional, great relationship with him and Arthur Smith, moving this offense. They're almost a top 10 scoring offense. A non-quarterback, who's the MVP?
Non-quarterback MVP. I off the top of my head, I'd probably say Watt.
Could it be Herbig? Would that be a crazy thought? And it's been a little less impactful last couple games, but he was really on a heater for a time. DK Metcalf, Jalen Warren. Yeah, it's a good question on who the MVP not named Rodgers is, but if you include the quarterback, it's Aaron Rodgers. Chat, what do you think? Who's
Aaron Rodgers has for the season now, 2.59. He's tied with Tua Tagovailoa for the quickest snap to throw time at 2.59 seconds. His intended air yard average is the lowest in the NFL at 5.7 yards. His completed air yard average is 3.5, and only Dylan Gabriel has a lower completed air yard average. And obviously Dylan Gabriel's only played a handful of games so far, but within all that, he has a 103.1 I think quarterback rating, completion percentage 68.7. 17 touchdown passes and just 5 interceptions. So hard to argue it not being Rodgers just from those touchdown passes and low amount of interceptions.
Chat was saying Boswell is the non-quarterback MVP, which is probably correct. So chat.
Yeah, that's smart. Probably the right answer.
Smart call there. I'm with you. If you guys could like the stream, would love to get 100 people here before we exit at the top of the hour. Would really appreciate that. Reminder, Kim Hayward video having a great game yesterday in the morning on the channel and on Steelers Depot.
Goes to show you how much we take Boswell for granted, right?
Oh, yeah. You watch all these, again, the Falcons, they miss an extra point. They lose that game. Seeing kickers miss everywhere. Man, Boswell is money kicking in. That field still is not great in Pittsburgh. It was not. He's still getting dust and sand and dirt kicked up. So
it looked like Warren slipped a couple of times. Did you see that as well, too? Maybe he probably could have got a couple more yards on a couple of those runs over to the left side, lost the footing and all.
Yeah. May have to revisit the cleat situation there for the next home game, which is in 2 weeks against the Bengals. Tyler Armis, do we know what periods or activities get left out when the team has a short week, and could that be affecting performance? I mean, that only happens really on a Thursday. You just have less time. It's not that work gets left out or it's condensed in the work that you're doing. In that sense, you're having walkthroughs on like Monday and Wednesday. You really only get one good day of practice in. Obviously, you're pretty much not doing anything physically inclined, so it's just a lot less of. It's 8 pounds in a 5-pound bag to 8 pounds in a 2-pound bag.
Yep.
Let's see. When will we know the true identity of this team after the Bills game, says Christopher 11. Do we ever know the true identity until the season's kind of done?
Like I said earlier, man, it's like a box of chocolates with this team this year. You don't know what you're going to get on a week-to-week basis, and I don't know if we're ever going to know this season. Look, I mean, yeah, this first Ravens game is going to be uber important, and it's going to come on the heels of playing the Buffalo Bills. So, come talk to me after those two games against the Bills and the Ravens.
Yeah, and I still talk about how the end of the season, obvious as it is, defines this team. They could go win out the rest of the regular season and then lose in the first round in the same old Steelers. They could limp their way to the finish line, win the wild card game on the road, and it's, wow, what a great season. So I know that that's still how this team is defined, as they should be. We always talk about you got to get over the hump of the playoffs, and that's how this team should be judged by. So it doesn't make the here and now irrelevant, and of course you have to play well to get to the playoffs, and you want to win the division, you want to host a home playoff game, but January defines all.
All right, you got the Chargers, you got the Bengals, the Bears, the Bills, the Ravens, the Dolphins, the Lions, the Browns, and the Ravens. Who among those teams would you be absolutely floored to see the Steelers lose to?
None of them, really. There's no quote-unquote gimme game, even though, again, I hate that term because the NFL is so close and so on the margins. But the Browns, the rematch against Cleveland, would be the most surprising, obviously.
And look, Myles Garrett can take a game over all by himself, right?
But they can still lose that game as he did against the Patriots. But yeah, certainly he's a game wrecker. And it's a good defense. Their defense is certainly a good, talented unit.
Right.
Likelihood Rodgers is back in 2026 with a college quarterback class not looking great from Jake Gilliam. I think you can do both. You can go draft a first-round quarterback and go bring back Aaron Rodgers for one more season. Rodgers is still not your long-term option. So I don't know if the quarterback class of next year has anything to do with that, because by the time Rodgers decides, which you would hope won't take until June next year, you're going to be making that decision in January. By the end of January, ideally, Rodgers kind of knows his situation and status going forward if he even wants to play next year. So you're only kind of getting the tip of the iceberg in terms of your Mike Tomlin and some of that decision making, scouting quarterbacks. So all that to say is I don't see it as you have to have one or the other.
It's not impossible, as I like to say, but this is who Aaron Rodgers is at this stage of his career, though, right? Quick time to throw, and regardless of who the wide receivers are, right? This is who Aaron Rodgers is. A quick snap to throw, a low intended air yard average, and a low completed air yard average, right? The value is between the ears with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, this toothpaste is not going back into the tube. He's not going to go back to 15 years ago Aaron Rodgers. So this is who he is. This is how he wins, and it's working. One thought I have, and it's for down the road, Rodgers is having a really good season. Let's assume that continues, and he wants to play. Will other teams have interest in Aaron Rodgers? I assume there'll be a market larger for him this year than there was this past year, where teams say, hey, this guy, old man, can still play a little bit. How about we maybe pursue him too?
Yeah, but I think a lot of that too, you got to still understand that this is his wheelhouse right now at this point of his career. So
what do you mean?
You're not going to get his advanced metrics aren't going to change. For him to be effective, he's going to have to be a ball out quick, short passing game type guy. So how many teams are going to want to go down that route, and how many teams will he be willing to go down the route with? And look, what if Arthur Smith? I'm still not convinced Arthur Smith leaves, but I think Arthur Smith his offense and what he tries to do kind of fits Aaron Rodgers at this point of his career, and Aaron's going to have to take a hard look at who, what's expected out of him as well too. So even though there might be teams interested, how many are really going to be good fits for him?
No, I agree. I think the counterpoint to my suggestion is why would Rodgers want to leave? It's gone well in Pittsburgh. He's seen places where it doesn't go well, like New York, where you don't have the consistency and stability, but you just wonder if other teams will have interest, and that it doesn't mean that Rodgers wants to go there. But what if Arthur Smith leaves, like you said, and it's a new OC, and how do those guys mesh? And what if Smith goes to a team that is somewhat competitive? I don't think he would go to Tennessee. Rodgers would if Smith gets hired there, because that's not a team ready to win now or win in 2026. But just I think those will be things at the very least the outside media will be talking about if Rodgers wants to come back or is open to coming back in 2026.
And this assumes everything goes okay the rest of the way this year, and they get in there and maybe win a playoff game or a couple of them.
Like, what if J.J. McCarthy, I know he had a big win yesterday, but doesn't have a great end of the season? Do the Vikings say, you know what, let's go pursue Rodgers. We declined it a year ago. We're in a win now mode. Aaron, come to Minnesota. Like, that's the stuff that'll get talked about.
Yeah, and that would probably be one of the more legitimate, if such a scenario played out, that I could see it coming down to.
Yeah, it just something to think about, something that could at least be a topic of water cooler conversation, even though, again, I think if Rodgers wants to come back, probably does so in Pittsburgh.
I would advise him not do too many more of them scrambles like he did like he did against the Colts there. That deserved to be in one of those faces of death videos.
You could kind of see him questioning his life choices mid scramble. They're like, "Am I doing this? Should I do this?"
Yeah. He probably thought that probably moved in. Somebody should have asked him about that too. Was all that moving in slow motion?
Yeah.
As slow of motion as it looked to us on the outside. No.
He got up faster than Darius Slay, though, did. So,
Pat Fryermuth sure did check on him mighty quickly.
Yeah, listen, I would too. Make sure you're okay. And we'll keep throwing me the football. Great touchdown pass. You had that great clip of the All-22.
Oh, yeah, that was his best throw of the game, easily.
Yeah, one of the better of the season, I think. F-War83, Jeremy Fowler just reported Asante Samuel Jr., the cornerback, has been cleared to play. Any interest? Yeah, I think there could be. I think it's interesting. Sure. The Pittsburgh doctors have been working on him, did surgery, looked at his medical records, so Pittsburgh would have a pretty good insight, even though those get sent out to every team. It's not like Pittsburgh has that propriety, but I don't know. I think another team with a bigger cornerback need will probably offer Samuel a more immediate role than what Pittsburgh could provide.
Isn't Detroit still pretty beat up at corner?
I think they usually are, generally speaking. So, yeah, I think Arnold's been out. I could see that. I don't know what team, but I would guess there'll be a team that will offer more than Pittsburgh in terms of opportunity. But if Samuel would like to come to Pittsburgh, I'm not saying no.
Right.
All right. What else? Maybe kick the tires on A.D. Mitchell, says Chad. Yeah, I don't know. Mitchell's not lived up to the talent, and he had the terrible fumble. It feels like more of an off-season thing than it would be in season.
Right.
What else do we have here? What are captain responsibilities other than the coin toss? This is from Wesley Meyer. It's a good question. There's a general leadership component that kind of comes with that. Whenever Wilson got promoted to special teams captain, I think he talked about how Miles Killebrew would always run the special teams meetings and handle a lot of those things. So handling meetings, being a general face for the team, leadership, steady presence, those are some of the responsibilities.
Yeah, it's more of a just a
ceremonial, a little bit. But there's a tangible, at least I think for special teams, in terms of helping run those meetings, because Pittsburgh does not have a lot of coaches to do that.
Right.
Just officially Danny Smith, he gets help. Luke Smith, his nephew. It's funny, Danny Smith was on the field during one of Waitman's final punts yesterday. He kind of had to back off, and Luke Smith's like trying to pull him back, and he's laughing with Tomlin about it. So lots of fun there. But good question, Wesley. Any concern how soft the middle of the defense is going against a hairball offense from St. Eltro? What do you think, Dave?
What's the question?
Any concerns about the middle of the field? Colts had a couple completions there, but when you're playing too high, you're going to give up some of that. The Colts like throwing over the middle. I didn't see it as a big concern.
No, I think purposely with the too high and all, they try more times to not get them to throw outside. towards the outside of the numbers. I think the more concerning thing was some of those passes that they did give up in those hole shots.
Yeah, it's also cover two. So those are the weaknesses: the hole shots, the honey hole, and over the middle. But overall, he held the Colts in check.
Just don't give up the yak, and they didn't do that. Just look, you're not going to shut. What's so funny is you go back and you look at the stats and all. They had a couple of guys with even 115-yard, I think, receiving outputs. Now, obviously, some of that came in the fourth quarter and all like that. But just don't let those guys. And I think the Colts had 3 explosive plays, not counting penalties, in total, and the Steelers only gave up like 88 or so yards after the catch. And I think the thing to remember here is that you didn't totally shut out the Colts. It's just when they started to get any traction whatsoever, they were able to get the ball out. And take the football away. And then they obviously shut down the run. And that was paramount. Now, on paper, you wouldn't think it would be as strenuous of a chore against the Chargers, but they do have that fullback that they who's that kid that they like to use at the quasi tight end fullback on the Chargers and all?
Scott Matlock.
Yeah, but I mean they're not going to have on Mary Hampton. They're not going to have both their tackles. Their offensive line's been beat to hell, I think, and all like that. So shut down the run and try to employ sort of the same tactics that you did on defense this past week against the Colts, and just make sure you're tackling the catch.
Yeah, I got a couple of guys the Chargers do were in 40s to play fullback, tight end, so that physical brand of football Harbaugh brought from Michigan to the Chargers. Let's see, about 10 minutes left. Be sure to get your questions in. Mike Adesso, any chance somebody kidnapped Alec Pierce yesterday and didn't let him leave town? Dreams of him in black and gold have faded daily since the summer. Yeah, the Colts obviously are going to hold on to him, but he's a free agent after the season, so we will renew hope come March.
He got off to a good start in that game for sure.
He had a good game, 115 yards. I mean, it's a good day's work for not a high volume wide receiver. Rick McKee, if this was answered already, move along and I'll watch the replay. Why not put another player in for Rodgers on the tush push? We have not been asked. That's a good question.
That is a good question.
Probably don't want to give away necessarily, okay, there's no quarterback on the field, so they're doing some non-quarterback play. It's clearly not hurting them. If you put another guy on there, you don't need more pushers. You already have like 1 or 2 guys to push. A third is kind of useless. And also, I think maybe if there was a situation where, what if a timeout needs called or some sort of like who's kind of running the show here, getting the play in, that kind of stuff. I think it's good to have Rodgers out there.
Plus, why limit us to seeing that Superman pose?
It is a very confident pose, so it is fun to watch. But a fair point. It's an interesting angle there because most teams tush push use the quarterback, and Pittsburgh is not going to.
Could they do someone asked me, can they do some sort of trick play off of that with Aaron in that pose?
You could. I mean, the Eagles have done some like sweeps off of it to kind of counter that. I think who else did it? The Patriots, I think, did that earlier this year with Henderson. So I don't know if Rodgers, like, how that will work logistically, trying to snap the ball through all the legs. That probably is not a great calculation on 4th and inches to try something crazy. But I think Pittsburgh will just continue to do its standard push ahead with Connor Hayward. Who's going to cover Ladd McConkey on Sunday? I hope it's not Slay, says Lewis. Yeah, I mean, it could be a multitude of people. He plays in the slot a lot. So Eccles, could we see a lot of Ladidi McConkey, which is still one of my favorite nicknames for him, any NFL player, but probably some Eccles.
Yeah, you need to limit that guy, whatever you do. And look, you're going to roll out various coverages again, too high. He's going to get some looks. He's going to get some catches in the game. You just can't let him kill you.
MC, what red zone? They are passing in the red zone, goal to go instead of running the ball in as they tried over the last several years. I'm not sure what that's a reference to some earlier comment, but the red zone offense has been very good this season, so it's been a big change.
Yeah, you obviously would have wished they could have connected on the Darnell quick. Aaron Rodgers put it almost right in the breadbasket there on that throw as well too. Just Washington kind of got on him quick, wasn't expecting it. Then they forced that was a forced throw to DK Metcalf. If you're going to throw that, you need to throw it up higher too, probably.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, Aaron Rodgers, let's face it, we just got done talking about, I mean, this is a guy that's put the ball in the end zone quite a few times down low.
Right. So still 3-6 yesterday, had the turnover on downs, which is Washington unable to make that play. So still some work to do, but overall red zone offense has been very good this season. That's why Pittsburgh is scoring a whole lot more. Time for a couple more questions. Just one last call out to like this video. Will Chuck Clark get his job back? The 2 games he missed, they played better. We'll see. I like the Duggar-Ramsey pairing. Duggar has his limitations, but I kind of like that duo going forward.
Yeah, and if this, we'll have to see how the whole health shakes out and all like that. One of those safeties might have to be inactive moving forward, healthy scratch.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Duggar's going to dress, you know that, so... Jabril dealing with a quad, and somebody's probably going to have to not dress of those safeties.
Yeah, we'll see how the injuries look. I mean, I would imagine you're going to get back Holcomb and Clark with their illnesses. What's Malu's status? But even if he's inactive, then Pete becomes active. So, yeah.
And if Jabril is healthy, do you trust him more as your personal protector?
Yeah, he had gotten that job next man up whenever Killebrew went down. Now Skoranek did it last week, and Eckles went over to Gunner with Pierre. So I would think Peppers would go back to the protector. That you want Skoranek as your gunner, I think, ideally.
Right.
But we'll see.
That's a good point. That's a very good point too. And so I mean, there's a good chance that Chuck Clark might be, assuming Jabril's healthy, that Chuck Clark could be healthy and active.
He was
long way
this
out,
year, right? I mean, he was inactive earlier, week 6 for the Browns game. I think he was inactive. So it's not like they haven't done it before. Walter Worthy, Rodgers is not coming back if we're not even close to sniffing the AFC Championship game this year. I don't know. If they win a playoff game and Rodgers wants to come back, this team's going to say, yes, please, Aaron, come back. Even if they don't, and Rodgers continues to play at this level, it's not going to be Rodgers' fault they lost. They didn't get over the hump. And if he wants to come back, I think they're going to have him back. I think if he wants to come back, unless something dramatically changes with his play in a negative way, they're going to have him back. So you can have a quarterback and not feel like we're going into the offseason without anything at quarterback again, and where you even feel more compelled than ever to get a first-round quarterback. We're picking 21st overall. There's other teams in line for quarterback, and the class isn't great. Like, if he wants to come back, I think they're going to welcome him back with open arms.
Especially if Arthur Smith's still the OC and Mike Tomlin's the head coach, because I think Mike Tomlin really enjoys having him. Even
if Smith isn't, that's all the more reason to bring Rodgers back, so you don't lose your OC and your quarterback in the same year, and you're starting fresh on both those fronts. Now you got to find the right OC to work with Aaron Rodgers, and that's not necessarily an easy thing to do. But you know what works well with Rodgers. You want a personality similar to Arthur Smith, and so. You don't want to hire the guy just for Aaron Rodgers. You want an OC to be here for 5-10 years, and Rodgers will not be. But that dynamic is going to be a really important part of that evaluation. If Smith leaves, which I think there's a chance he could, take the Tennessee job, but that's all stuff down the road.
All right.
Are the Steelers trading for a receiver, says Juan Carlo? Or hopefully I'm saying that right. I'm probably saying that incorrectly. I'm going to say no. I know there's a lot of reporting that says yes, and I could be wrong, but I'll say no.
Yeah, we talked about it on the podcast. The fanboy in me wants them to do something, but my gut tells me that it won't happen.
John Pennington, if Rodgers comes back next year, and if the team drafts a quarterback in the first round, why would Will Howard want to be on this team without asked to be traded? What's in it for him? Listen, if you're a second year guy that hasn't played a snap, you don't get to wave the trade card. You get into a game, control what you can control. That's got to be Howard's focus.
Especially where he was drafted too.
Yeah. I mean, his path is becoming a backup quarterback probably in 2027, the number 2, when Rudolph's contract expires. That should be kind of his goal on his rookie deal, is to become the number 2. And then even in this scenario in which Rodgers comes back and you draft a quarterback, then 2027, the first round guy is the starter. Rodgers is gone. Rudolph's contract is up. Then Howard makes the push to become the backup.
And he doesn't seem like that kid that would play that card anyway,
Right.
Try to play that card.
I am so sorry. I missed the super chat from Matt. Thank you, Matt, so much for the $2 super chat. He said, if you had to pick one player to trade for, who? So call your shot. You personally, Dave, trade for one player tomorrow. Who would that be?
I think Jacoby. Yeah.
Jacoby Myers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I like what Calvin Austin's doing, though, so I'm a little less enthused about that, but I get the point. Bigger body, good catch radius. Trying to think of all the names that I've thought about to trade for.
I mean, we're talking within reason, obviously, right?
Yeah, obviously, like names that make sense, not...
I mean, Calvin Ridley doesn't do anything for me. What's the deal with the Raiders and that rookie wide receiver over there of mine, that Dante Thornton? He was a healthy scratch.
Was he?
For the Raiders yesterday, and Pete Carroll says he just wanted to get Tyler Lockett on the field and all like that. I wonder if they're already wiped their hands with Thornton over there.
Yeah, he's made some plays. Be pretty quick to trade him.
Yeah.
Not unheard of. Lynn Bowden was traded as a rookie from the Raiders on the Mayock regime.
Now, make no mistake, he's a you go deep guy right now still, and has very inexperienced coming out of college, and has some development to do as a route runner and all like that. But his measurables obviously got him drafted a little bit higher than what I thought he would even be drafted. I'm just curious, why they can't get him a helmet.
Yeah, they need playmakers, you would think. Who would to give you a name? Myers, I get. Ridley, I think, is a good route runner, and Pittsburgh needs a good route runner. Like, even Calvin Austin, who I like, is not necessarily a great route runner through the stem of the route. He's got good release package. He's fast, but as in terms of like a Deontay Johnson, AB type of true separator, I don't think Austin is quite that. But Ridley's contract is pretty large, and it's been pretty tough over there in Tennessee. The quarterback play, obviously, the offense, more so than quarterback play, is not helping. Can I give you the other Raiders player, Jackson Powers Johnson? That's a physical guy, Pittsburgh-like. Give me some O-line depth. Maybe a sixth offensive lineman if Anderson has to come in. Calvin Beachum.
Gives you an emergency center.
Yeah. Alontae Taylor with the Saints. I don't know exactly what his role would be, but he's got good tape. He's fast and physical. Somebody like that, I guess, would be... I'm giving you more than one name, but there's a couple names for you, Matt. Also, Walter Worthy, $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Be our last question that we're going to get out of here. Says, my Rodgers take regarding AFC champ game is from his perspective. Steelers and fans want him regardless. Okay, fair. Would Rodgers want to come back? But even if he gets to the playoffs and had a good year and he's enjoyed this year, he's had fun.
If he thought there was a future that maybe they could take it the next step further, whatever the final step ends up being this year, and he feels good, and he thinks he can, obviously keep a lot of the nucleus there, which there's no reason to think that they wouldn't. Maybe add another offensive line piece, obviously another wide receiver, and assuming he stays healthy and all. I don't. Other than him just saying that, he obviously wouldn't do it for the money. He's got the money and all like that. It's just all about does he feel in earnest that whatever the final step it ends up being this year, which you obviously hope would be at least one playoff win, if he thinks he could take it the next step farther, then I could definitely see him wanting to return for another year.
Yeah, like you said, first thing is, does he want to come back? How does his body feel? Where is he at mentally? Those things matter most. But I think he's enjoyed his time in Pittsburgh. That flame has been kind of relit. And you're right. It's a really good point. Like, how many offensive players are expected to leave this offseason or could leave? Not many. Austin.
Sayamalo, this might be it for Sayamalo.
Yeah. Sayamalu, Austin. Who are the other free agents or you would doubt would come back in 2026 on offense?
I don't know. Are you getting anything out of really Jonnu Smith? Could you upgrade that?
Yeah, that if Arthur Smith leaves, then Jonnu Smith might go because those guys are two peas in a pod, and Arthur Smith knows how to use them better than most coaches, although he had success in Miami last year. The point is, though, like you said, the nucleus is going to be there. Like, Warren's back. Gainwell's a free agent. Should mention Gainwell signed a one-year deal. Metcalf's back. Your offensive line is intact. They picking up the fifth-year option on Broderick Jones? I know he's back either way, but are they picking up the option on him?
I'm still not where I would do it.
If the decision was made today, you would say no.
I would say no.
In terms of what the team will do, or in your mind, if you were? I think they would. I think they would pick up. They probably just want to pick up the option on one of these guys. They haven't done it since T.J. Watt. They did it for Minka, but in terms of guys they've drafted, and I think his play has improved and ascended. Now, is he where he needs to be? No. Is he the long-term fixture? I'm not nearly at that point. But in terms of picking up the option, yeah. I mean, I think they would if the decision had to be made today. But of course, we'll keep watching.
And remember, if you're picking that up, it's for
27,
and it's fully guaranteed too. I'm not there with him yet.
All right, fair enough, but something to watch. Either way, he's back in 26 in terms of being under contract. So
right,
we know that is locked in unless they were to cut him. But in terms of team control, he's here for at least next year.
So you're saying you would do it?
Yes to both. Yes, in terms of the Steelers, I think would do it, and yes, I would do it too. Now, again, do I think he's long-term fixture? No, not yet. But in terms of making that, if I had to make the decision today, if I was thumbs up or thumbs down, I would go thumbs up. I think he's gotten better. I think he's improved. I think he's been more, taken a better approach, had more confidence, played with more energy. And if you have to go then find a left tackle next year, not easy to do.
Yeah, I'm not there.
I mean, granted, you wouldn't have to find a left tackle next year. He'd be back next year, but
right.
It would kind of signal we're not looking long-term to do something with Broderick Jones.
Okay.
All right. So good questions. Appreciate you guys being here. Just one last call out to like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out the site, SteelersDepot.com. Dave, Bryan, as always, thank you for being here.
All right, you have the hard job of all this, so thank you for doing this, and thank you for everybody that takes time out of their Monday night to sit in and chat with us here. Some great questions once again, and 2 weeks from today, I guess we'll do this again. Peace and love, everybody.
And Tony Anderson says, you guys are best in the business. Keep up the awesome work. Thank you, Tony. And Mike made a joke about Pittsburgh still only having 52 on the roster, which, yeah, I don't. It's been more weeks than not, which is kind of crazy, but they're making it work, and you got 48 on game day, and that's kind of all that matters, I suppose. So thank you guys so much. Again, be sure to like, subscribe, check out the site, SteelersDepot.com. Video on Cam Hayward in the morning. Archive version of this going up on Steelers Depot in just a little bit. So thank you again, and we'll talk to you soon.